It's for you to hear about the Wilson Talent Center scholarship opportunities. So Mr. Cook will go over that. And I just want to ask, how many of you have done the FAFSA application? And if you haven't done that, if you don't know what FAFSA is a really good place to get money for school. This is the federal government website application, pre-application, where you will go on, you'll apply, they look at family income and a lot of other factors as well, but that's where they determine if you have the opportunity to get financial aid toward paying for college. Financial aid you do not pay back, so this is money that's given to you. They also look at grant opportunities. Grants you do not pay back, so that's another thing that one application, that FAFSA that you hear about, will look at for you. They look at work study opportunities on campus, which is a really good way to make some money and help pay for your schooling as you go through. The fourth thing they look at primarily is student loans. Student loans you do pay, but if there's still funds left that you need for covering your classes, that's also another opportunity for you. So keep that in mind. I'm Mrs. Damon. I can help any of you sit down one-on-one to look at what you are thinking of doing after high school graduation. We can look at schools, we can look at curriculum, we can look at job information to help you figure that out. And I want to make sure that everyone knows Ms. Robowski. She is our College Access Network advisor. She can help you sit down and go through the FAFSA and understand how that works. It can be a little bit tricky, a little bit complicated. So if you meet with her, make sure you know your social security number. Probably not written down somewhere, but memorized here for FAFSA and a lot of other reasons. And also college applications. So we'll start out looking at Wilson Talent Center scholarship apps. And then we have an hour with LCC reps to talk about those opportunities. Even if you are not currently considering LCC, that's a way you can supplement classes from a university. You could take classes online. Good way to get that tuition knocked down a little bit. LCC will also, the staff we have here will also talk about their scholarship opportunities. So two really good ways to get money. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Cook.
Hello everybody, my name is Rick Cook. I'm the English teacher for the building. I see a lot of my former students in here and probably some of my future students as well. I am going to talk about the scholarship opportunities at the Wilson Talent Center. So to apply for a scholarship at the Wilson Talent Center, you need to identify which scholarships you're eligible for. So some of our scholarships are for all programs. Some of them are for one or two programs specifically, and you need to be a senior in those programs to apply for that. All of these are run through Google Classroom. Okay, raise your hand if you've used Google Classroom before. Oh, that's why we use it, right? So this makes it as simple as possible. The way you apply for a scholarship is you find that scholarship's Google Classroom. Does that make sense? Now, what do you need to get into a Google Classroom? There's two things. You need the code, and you have to use your Wilson Talent Center Google account. Okay? You can't use your homeschool account. You can't use your personal account. You have to use your Wilson Talent Center Google account, and you have to know the code for that particular scholarship. Does that make sense? This document is intended to walk someone through how to get into a Google Classroom if they've never done it, and also which scholarships, which students are eligible for, and their classroom codes. Does that make sense? So the beginning of the document walks through how to get into your Google account based on the hands that I saw go up. Everybody knows how to do that. How to add a Google Classroom. The thing that'll be most important for you is this table. The name of the scholarships, who's eligible for those scholarships, and the classroom codes. Does that make sense? There is one scholarship that all Wilson Talent Center students can apply for, and it's called the Student Success Scholarship. All students are eligible for that. There are many programs at the Talent Center that have gone out and found people that want to support just that program. So for instance, construction is one of those programs. There's many scholarships in here that are just directed at construction. There are many that are just directed at welding. Some of you don't find your program on there, and I'm sorry about that. I see some bio students. Doesn't have a bio specific, right? Single tier, okay? So you are going to focus on, if you want to apply for it, the Student Success Scholarship. Does that make sense? So there's two types of scholarships. The Student Success Scholarship that is all students are eligible for, and then all the other ones are the same type. Okay, does that make sense? There's two types. One that all students are eligible for, and then all the other ones are program specific. There's criminal justice. I see criminal justice people in here. Right? Is there any engineering folks? Okay, so there's one specific. Precision. Nobody for precision. I see welding folks in here, though. Some welding folks. So there's quite a few welding ones. No, there's a lot of construction folks in here because you have a lot. And a culinary, right? The food truck, especially, is that scholarship. So I want to make sure, I want to take you to a Google Classroom, which you all have a lot of familiarity with, but I want to take you to it so you can see what the assignment looks like and how to submit it. And then I also, the other handout we've given you today is some brief outlines of what to be thinking about as you tackle the writing portion of these scholarships. Okay? So that's the nature of the two handouts that you have. So first, let's look at one of the, here's the Student Success Scholarship. 8 people have already entered it, so those are people from this morning. So if you go to the Student Success Scholarship Google page, you will be automatically enrolled in the class, and you will automatically get a copy of this assignment, the Student Success Scholarship. Now this is due January 23rd. All of them are due January 23rd. In Google Classroom, what time does that mean? If it says January 23rd, what time does it mean it's due? 11:59. Isn't it funny how you all know that exactly? Like, it's amazing how many assignments get turned in between 11:50 and 11:59. Shocking. So that's the time that it's due. If you submit it after that, of course, it'll still allow you to submit it after that, but it will be marked as late. Okay? Don't mess around with those due dates. They're all due at that time. Google's live. Submit it at that time. So make sure you submit it by that time. We pull these, and readers who are not teachers in this building, so they're Ingham ISD employees, current and former, that don't know you, are our blind readers. Okay, they read this work. There's a rubric that is used to tell us which one of these applications is the best and who deserves the scholarship. Does that make sense? If at any point I have any questions, please just raise your hand. Okay, so the Student Success Scholarship, I'm going to go into this one in depth because this is the one for all students. They will all look like this. All of this, the purpose, the eligibility criteria, how we select the winner for the application, instructions about the application procedure. There will be student information that you fill out. So this is a Google Doc. So you put your information right in here. Okay? How do you turn in an assignment in Google Classroom? You press the turn in button. What if you don't hit the turn in button? Have you submitted the application? Okay? So you got to remember, does that happen to you in your homeschool sometimes? You forget to hit the submit button? Okay, I'm a teacher. It happens. My students forget to hit the turn in button. I could name people sitting in here who forgot to do it. What if you hit it too early and you want to keep writing on it? Can you unsubmit it? Okay, so make sure you know that, hey, I can unsubmit this if I have to, and I can keep writing it. The Student Success Scholarship is 2 essays. Student Statement 1, Student Statement 2. Please refer to this document now, okay? This document. The first statement is where you discuss a significant learning experience that you had at the Talent Center. That's what the first statement is. This is an outline of a way to go about that. It is a formal writing assignment. Do not just represent your speech on paper. Some of my former students know what I'm talking about. Okay? Gonna is not a word. Bet is not a word. Bougie is not a word. None of those are appropriate in this. This is formal writing. And you should treat it as such. What is the single best thing to do right before you submit formal writing? Caitlin Fowler, nice and loud.
I'm sick. Have somebody else read it to you.
Have somebody else read it aloud to you. Not just you read it aloud loud, because you'll read it right. Have somebody else who's not going to self-correct for you read it aloud to you. It's the single best thing you can do before you submit something. So both of these, one essay is about a significant experience, the other essay is about 2 work habits. I've created a self-explanatory outline of a good way to tackle this. Okay? So the Student Success Scholarship is 2 essays. Does that make sense? So everybody that is, all the health kids, that's what you can apply for. Bio, that's what you can apply for. Everyone, I mean, even if you're in construction and you've got 6 of these you can apply for, you could do this if you'd like, right? You're eligible for it. If you are doing any other scholarship, so all the other scholarships, here's one for criminal justice, the Jeff Broughton Communication Services. This one only only criminal justice students are eligible for. When you get into a classroom, it'll say right here who's eligible for this. If you enter a classroom and you end up not wanting, you either enter a classroom erroneously because you're not a criminal justice student, or you started the application and you just didn't follow through, don't worry about it. We will only take the people who submit something. It's not everyone that's in the class, it's the people who submit something. So if you go look at this scholarship and you enter the code and enter the class and decide not to submit, that's okay. Right? I got contacted last year with students saying, hey, I'm not going to do that application when you take me out of the class. There's no reason to do that. Just don't submit the application. Does that make sense to the Google users? Now this one has 1 essay that you need to do, 1 student statement, and then a collection of a portfolio of work. So student statement where you discuss experiences. The handout's got an outline that directs you toward a good way to do that. So 1 essay, student statement, and then you attach to this demonstrated excellent performance examples. Okay? So I want you to think about this. How can a law enforcement student get into a Google document something significant from class that demonstrates your excellence? Take a picture. That'd be an excellent way to do it. Could you take an assignment that captured your excellence, scan it, and put it in here? Absolutely. Do we expect our students to have those digital capabilities? We do. That's an expectation, that you'll be able to do that. So here's a list of things that you could put in here. Letters from work-based learning supervisors, certificates, awards, pictures of things you've constructed or manufactured or fabricated. I know that's a lot of what our curriculums are. Any of those are appropriate. So, student success, 2 essays. All other scholarships are one essay and a portfolio of excellent work. Any questions about that? Okay. Now, I want to draw your attention to what happens if you win? Well, you get some money. You are also invited to a banquet where we recognize your accomplishment and you're actually given that money. To get the money, you must submit an acceptable thank you letter. The day we announce the winners, we bring all the winners in, and right then, in that setting, we talk about the thank you letters you need to write, and we support that effort. We do a small workshop about what does a good thank you letter look like. So if you want to win the money, you've got a couple of requirements. If you want to win the student success money, you got to write 2 essays. If you win, you got to write an acceptable letter. The other scholarships, all the other scholarships, 1 essay, portfolio of excellence, demonstrated excellence, and a thank you letter. Does that make sense? I want to make clear what you're required to do to win the money. We gave about $17,000 out last year. Okay, that's a pretty good amount for a school our size and the time that you spend here. Mrs. Damon, am I missing anything that I talked about in the morning?
No. Excellent.
Questions? Yes?
So the 2 essays, you're doing 2 with this format, like 2 separate ones, exactly.
So if you look at there's actually 3 outlines on here. Okay? So under student success, one of the statements is about a significant experience. The other statement's about work habits. Then all other scholarships can follow this format, which is about a significant experience. Does that answer your question?
So
Okay.
read carefully.
Yes.
Read carefully.
Yep.
See Mr. Cook's
Now, if you need help with either the scholarship writing itself or some aspect of the Google Classroom, my office is the next room over, and my email is rcook@inghamisd.org. Okay, that's an effective way to get a hold of me. I do want to put a plug in for LCC. I'm in my 15th year teaching Writing 121 and Writing 122. It's actually English 121 and English 122 at LCC. Many of my students did not know they were going to be sitting in my class spring of their senior year. I want you to think about what I'm saying. Spring of your senior year, you think, oh, I'm going to Central, or I'm doing this, or I'm going here, or I have no idea what I'm doing. Many of those students, regardless of their plans, end up at LCC in the fall. When is the due date for the LCC scholarships?
January 31st.
This January 31st. So think about that. All those people that ended up in my English 121 class that didn't know they were going to be there on January 31st. That due date means you need to be thoughtful about your plans and the possibilities. If LCC is a remote possibility, you should really stay and listen to these presentations because you can get a lot of financial support. And LCC is much more of a possibility than many of you think sitting where you're sitting right now. And it's in ways you don't even realize. A lot of my students at LCC are Michigan State students, but they can fit my writing class in easier because it's 6 to 8 Tuesday and Thursday nights. And not a lot of that's happening at Michigan State. Right? There's even an LCC East campus in East Lansing because there's so many Michigan State students that take those classes. And this is a phenomenon across departments. I know this happens in math. I know it happens in science. Particularly because LCC classes are transferable, the ones that are part of the Michigan Transfer Agreement. Okay? So don't just stay if you know you're going to LCC. Stay if LCC is a possibility. And be realistic with yourselves. It's much more of a possibility for many of you than you realize. You'd be shocked how many times I see a Wilson Talent Center student at LCC, and I say, hey, I thought you were, and they're like, yeah, I'm here. And that's great. LCC is a great place to end up. So keep that in mind for the next group.